What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome back to MLB Swing for the Fences here with Run Pure Sports. We've got a currently 11, started as 12, maybe ends up as 10 game MLB slate, Friday night fireworks, and filling in for Steve today. Stats, how you doing on this Friday afternoon?
Hectic, man. I'll be happy when this entire day's over.
Yeah,
got a lot going on.
Sounds like it. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know the extent of what you got going on there, but happy you found the hour to join us for the show. Well, you're a real busy man, so we'll try to keep it to an hour.
I'm always happy to squeeze you in.
Yeah, appreciate it, Stats. Appreciate the hour. I know the people do, and we'll try to get to some winners on this baseball slate. And seems like a good day to just jump right into it. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's start off in Yankee Stadium in New York. Jose Barrios going up against Carlos Carrasco here, first game of the slate. High total in this one, no surprise. I think both offenses in a pretty good spot, specifically the Yankees, whose stats I think you've been on quite a bit with me. Just so much upside, just night after night with this team that for me, they're pretty difficult to ignore. They did make a notable switch in the lineup today. They've been batting Ben Rice almost exclusively right in front of Aaron Judge, and they switched those two around, which is interesting. So Rice now hitting third, the leadoff with Trent Grisham, who I'm sure will be a very popular play against Barrios, who I think might be in for a tough night here, Stats. And it's hard to, I'm not a Blue Jays guy, but it's hard not to have some appeal against Carlos Carrasco, who's pretty cooked at this point. Fun game to kick it off. Stats, what do you got for us, Blue Jays? And
I kind of agree with where you're going here. Yankees, look, both pitchers I think are unplayable, so I don't even want to get too deep into the pitching. I'm not touching either one of these pitchers. I've got them rated both pretty close to about 19 for Carrasco, Barrios 21st. So we'll pass on the pitching, and let's just touch on Toronto for a second. I mean, we've talked about this. I think we mentioned it on Wednesday. How Toronto's just a tough play. They're tough to stack. Because the limited home run power on this team. So I understand the sentiment against a Carrasco where you kind of, you're tempted to play it. I just think with this many games on the slate, this one's not, the Toronto stacks are not going to be in abundance for me. That's for sure. But the Yankees, that's a whole nother story. I think the Yankees are probably the best stack on the entire slate tonight. So I love, you're always going to like Judge in just about any matchup, but Judge is projecting for almost a 30% probability to hit a home run tonight, which is insane. So
sounds about right.
Yeah, and it's his, he's kind of penciled in there for his $6,500 in salary. The tricky part here with the Yankees and with some of the better stacks is, when we get to some of these other pitching, I kind of like some of the expensive pitching here, so it's going to be tough to get them all in. Grisham at 3,300 tonight will definitely be, he'll be significantly owned, but I think, it'll be tough to fit, the Yankees in with the 10K plus type pitchers if you're going to play both of them. So we're going to have to find probably a little bit better, some more value at pitching, but I think you want to get these Yankee stacks in there.
Yeah, I mean, everybody in this lineup, maybe outside of Oswaldo Cabrera, has speed or power or both. And yeah, they just wear pitchers out. If you watch them, they take so many pitches. And I bet they get Barrios out of there in 3 or 4, maybe 5 innings, and then good chance to do damage after that. So love the Yankees. Like I said, I do think you can play the bottomish order of this if you want to. Kind of hard for me to play the Yankees without Aaron Judge, but you can do it, I think, with this team. Just given the upside up and down the lineup. I will say with the Blue Jays, one of my problems with them is like a couple of their best hitters, Bichette, Vlad, they like to kind of go out to right field, right center field. That can work at Yankee Stadium, right? You can hit home runs the opposite way a little bit. And then you got
to the Hall of Fame with it.
Yeah, and then you've got Santander, right, who hasn't done much, but does in theory benefit from that right field porch swinging from the left side. Jimenez, another guy who kind of needs a shorter fence out in right field. Springer's actually been good. So I can kind of see it with this Blue Jays team against Carlos Carrasco, who, just isn't good. You agree with that, right? I mean, he's
no, I hate Carrasco and Santander. I didn't mention him, but he is one of the better plays on both teams tonight. Agreed. If you're going to play Toronto, throw him in a two-man, three-man stack.
Yeah.
Kind of your secondary stack, and you must include Santander from my money tonight.
Yeah, it makes sense, and I'm not super high on the Blue Jays, but just given kind of the other side of it, I could see a spot here where maybe they finally come through. But man, it's been rough sledding if you've been stacking Blue Jays. Not a lot of good nights for the Jays so far. Next game, go ahead.
No.
I thought you said something. Boston, Cleveland are up next. We both think this game's got a pretty good chance of being postponed. Already lost the Detroit game. Similar weather here. I think it just started raining, and man, there's a lot of rain. It looks like kind of coming down the pipeline. So I don't think this game plays. If it does, Lively, Tanner Houck. I don't think you can look at either pitcher. People saying Red Sox PPD. I don't know if that's for sure thing. And then, yeah, I mean, the Boston stack looks good to me, but yeah.
It looks like, yeah, if they just PPD'd it. Yeah, if they just postponed it, maybe we don't have to talk about it. But yeah, it kind of looked like it wasn't like they might have a small window early, but I think this thing was going to rain late. So, I mean, we weren't going to target pitchers anyway in this game.
Yeah, it is officially postponed. So thanks, Sylvester, for letting us know. And yeah, there we go. Boston, Cleveland, right on the mark there on the PPD. Don't need to play that one. Let's get to the next game. We do jump forward here 30 minutes for the Angels and the Twins. This one in Minneapolis should be moderate weather in the 50s here, but no rain chances. So this game will play Twins and Angels. Pablo Lopez makes his return here. Missed, I think, pretty close to the minimum amount of time on the IL, maybe a couple extra days. Looked good before he got hurt, but coming off of, obviously the IL for the hamstring, threw, I think, 63 pitches in his rehab start. So, I mean, we know how cautious the Twins are. It's hard to, I think, expect more than 80 pitches from Lopez here. Curious what the prop markets say on that stats. And then soft tosser Kyle Hendricks going up against the Twins, who offense is coming to life just a little bit over these last few days. Luke Keyshaw seems to have ignited something in that team, at least a little bit. Stats, what do you see here? Twins and Angels.
Yeah, so I mean, in the prop markets, Lopez is pretty good strikeout prop. It's juiced to the under, but it's 6.5, and only 15.5 outs. So, like you said, and that's juiced to the under. So they're really not expecting him to go too deep in this game. So I think you're kind of limited. You're capped a bit to the upside, and it's a shame because I really do. The strikeout numbers per inning are really elite, and it's a guy where I don't. At 8,500. We could get a little bit of savings, but you're capped, I think, on the upside. So I'll have some, just not as much as I normally would have if I was confident that, we could get 90 to 100 pitches at least, out of them. So I don't think that's going to happen here tonight. And then on the offensive side of this one, I don't really love this game. I don't know about you. I mean, I don't love the pitchers. I do like Lopez, but for the reasons given, I'm going to be a little more subdued there. And then as far as we've got Kyle Hendricks going, so I'm not even gonna talk about that. So we're not going to touch. I'm not touching Hendricks. I think you've got a cup. I mean, you basically look. Buxton's always going to be a play. He's a little cheaper at 4,700, so you might be able to get him in there. I think. Other than that, I don't like all that much in this game. Minnesota side a little bit more than the Angel side for the bats, but not going to be one of neither of these teams are going to be a predominant stack for me.
Yeah, I think I'm completely out on the Angels. Really, really no interest in going to the Angels bats, but it's the same three for the Twins. Buxton, who I think, was my play of the night or dong draft play, one or the other. I think on Wednesday hit a home run that day. He's still hit or miss, but clearly has a lot of home run upside every night. And then Keyshaw's been running crazy. Warnock is starting to swing. So it's at 2-3-4 for the Twins. I've said it a few times on the show. They've been coming through. It's hard for me to go beyond them with the Twins, but Buxton, Keyshaw, Warnock, all three, I think, are pretty elite plays at their prices and ownerships and all that. So those are the three for the Twins, and really the only three players in this game that I'm really
and obviously, well, you forgot Ty France, so.
Yeah, well, Boyd's not on the show, so we can pass on Mr. France, who actually has been, at least for Ty France standards, pretty decent this year. So there you go. Let's get to Houston and Kansas City up next. This one back in Kansas City looks like it should be good. Yeah, good to go weather-wise here. Hayden Wesneski going for the Astros. I think acquired from the Cubs over the offseason. It's been pretty solid. A little bit of a hiccup last time out against San Diego, but no surprise against a tough matchup there. And then Seth Lugo going for the Royals. I don't know. I don't think Lugo really a great play here, but I'm not really interested in the Astros either. And then Wesneski, I just don't think the strikeouts are quite high enough. So this is another game stats where I don't have a ton of interest. Definitely on the pitchers, but even the hitting looks pretty pedestrian to me.
Yeah, I think we're kind of on the same page with this one. I think it's both pitchers when we look at strikeouts that I'm just, I can't really get behind. Lugo 4.5 juice to the under on his strikeout total, but is projected to go fairly deep in the game. 18.5 is his prop. So that's, I think he'll pitch well. It's just we're not going to get all that many. We're not going to get those K points or anything like that out of a Lugo. And Wesneski, again, slightly better. I think from a K per inning standpoint, but at the 8,200 price tag, I have no interest in him either. On the offensive side, Houston a little bit. We talked about Kansas City as another team that we don't particularly like to stack. You don't have a lot of home run potential there with most of that Kansas City lineup. I think on the Houston side, obviously Bobby Witt, you can play in one-off situations. I don't mind that at all. Alvarez, Walker, those guys are rating out fairly high for me on Houston, but on the whole, don't really want to get too deep into stacking either one of these teams. So Houston a little bit. I'll shade towards the Houston side a little bit over Kansas City, but not by much. I don't love these plays. I mean, even a couple of cheap options in here, I wouldn't even as one-offs or to kind of salary save here. I don't really like it.
Yeah, wind blowing in again today, or it's been blowing out the last couple of days. Blowing in today, which does turn this park even tougher for home runs. So, just hard for me to see this game really getting there in any regard outside of Witt or in Alvarez one-off. Of course, can have a big game, but beyond that, not a ton of appeal with Houston and Kansas City for either of us. Different story in this next game, at least for me. We've got Milwaukee and the St. Louis Cardinals. Chad Patrick, rookie for the Brewers, going. He's actually been pretty good. Has pitched well for the Brewers so far. They let him go fairly deep into games. 94 pitches over 6 innings against the A's. Last time out, he gets 7 strikeouts in that one. So Patrick has been solid. Moderate interest in Patrick for me at 8,100, but I'm certainly not going crazy with that. And then Matthew Liberatore has been good this season. 4 pretty good starts in a row, including last time out against the Mets and before that against the Phillies. So he's faced some pretty stiff competition and has come out really in every game, kind of on the good half of it. Do you think there's some long-term production talent there for Liberatore? But nevertheless, I really like the Brewers here, which is becoming a little bit of a common theme for me. Just the stolen base upside. They just run crazy when they get a chance. They might have it here, and they're one of those team stats where they're like, just watching them play, they're clearly like trying to, even before the game, have a plan on the base paths, and they're just so well prepared, and they got enough power too, right? They do have enough power to get the big hits and get there if they're kind of stringing everything else together. Just kind of a bunch of pests in the lineup. So I love the Brewers today against Liberatore in that Cardinals bullpen. And, I did talk about liking Chad Patrick, but some interest in the Cardinals as well. Pretty nice night to hit here in Busch Stadium. And I think we might see some offense in this one. Curious where you ended up with Brewers and Cardinals here.
Yeah, I'm not going to be huge. I think I like Liberatore a little bit more maybe than you do. I mean, I have him 8th overall, right?
I
But
would definitely have some exposure if playing a lot of lineups.
yeah,
I think he's a decent play. Yeah.
I think he's definitely play. I don't like Patrick as much as you might. I don't even know if he's going to make the pool for me, especially at the 8,100 here. And like I said, at the 7,500 with Liberatore, not huge strikeout upside, but I'm trying to find some savings to get some of these more expensive bats in there. And I think he's in the of my top 10 pitchers. He's the he's one of the cheapest ones in there.
Yeah.
Verlander comes in 10th, just slightly less money, $200 less. So everyone above him is way more expensive. So I'm going to have him probably more than the market. And we'll see how that does. If I can get the expensive stacks to work with it, we'll do okay. But yeah, I would agree with you as far as the Milwaukee side of the game. I think the Milwaukee stacks are probably a little bit better, even though I'm going to go with Liberatore. I'm not going to be heavily stacked either side of this game. But this is one of those, that you could go both ways with. I think we're going to play Liberatore for that savings, get him in there with some of the bigger bats. And then I'll certainly have a little bit of the Milwaukee stacks as well. I like home runs a lot more than I like the stolen base for DFS, but you do have a couple options here. Hoskins, Chourio. There's guys Contreras who could hit some home runs. They're not projected for their probability to hit a home run here tonight. Not nearly as great as some of these other stacks that we have. Certainly not the Yankee stacks. But yeah, you get that added bonus of pretty high percentages for probabilities on stolen bases. So if they are scoring a lot of runs, stealing some bases, you'll get some points there. But I do like to target the home run a little bit more. I think we get a little bit more upside there.
Yeah, I do think they've got a couple guys, Joey Ortiz, Caleb Durbin, who are both below 3K, who've got power potential. I think Contreras, Hoskins, Chourio, all those guys off the lefty. I think their home run odds are a little light compared to what they should be based on the matchup and obviously the steals thing. But totally agree with your point. They are a team that is best served as a 5-man stack, right? There's some teams where they've got multiple one-offs, home run guys. This is a team where when they're really going off, it's probably going to be multiple guys that get there, not one or two that does all the damage. That's just not the way they're built. So obviously I'm in on the Brewers a little bit more than Stats is. Did you mention Cardinals bats? You like that side at all? It sounds like not really.
Yeah, I mean, not huge. Contreras for me, I think at 3,100 is a really nice play. But yeah, I'm not going to be heavy on these stacks either. I think that lineup just came out, so I don't know if I'm missing it as far as when I ran it earlier. That lineup was not out, so
we got the Brewers lineup. I'm looking now.
Yeah, I think we only have the Cardinals, right? Oh, we got the Brewers as well. Just came in.
Just came out. Yeah.
Okay.
Turang, Chourio, Yelich, Contreras, Frelick, Hoskins, Mitchell, Ortiz, Durbin. Okay. So yeah, about as expected. And yeah, I do specifically those two guys at the bottom, Ortiz and Durbin. I like those guys for salary savings quite a bit. Speed and power potential for me. All right, that's Milwaukee and St. Louis. Let's jump over to Denver, Colorado, Coors Field. Pretty wet and kind of dreary out there today here in Denver, but I do think they will play this game. Maybe some light precipitation. Won't be a game I'll be attending, but 50 degrees, just kind of dreary. It's still Coors Field, those stats, and it still is, Kyle Freeland on the mound and that Rockies bullpen. I've seen Ballpark Pals kind of got this more as a neutral stadium once you factor in the shitty weather. But I still think a decent spot for the Reds. Curious where you ended up, what you're doing with Coors Field. Obviously, Andrew Abbott against the Rockies. I guess we should mention Abbott is coming off a 11 strikeout game against the Orioles, and now he gets this Rockies team. I mean, what Mackenzie Gore get, like 14 Ks against him in Colorado? I mean,
in Colorado, yeah.
Stranger things have happened. So I kind of wrote off Abbott just off the jump, but looking at the Rockies K percentages against lefties, I don't know. I'm kind of reconsidering. Where'd you end up in this game? Because I think there's a lot of ways you could play it.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways. I think, Abbott doesn't really rate out well for me, but that K per inning number, I always look at that K per inning, even if the guy doesn't rate all that well, that high K per inning is going to at least give you potential decent upside. Too many walks though, and his projection to give up some runs here, obviously, in Coors is fairly high, and that's what's keeping his rating down for me. I love Mackenzie Gore in that matchup. I think we had the show that day, and he was one of my favorite options. But no, I'm not going to have much in the way of the pitching in this one. And let's see where we got him, or where at least Saber has them projected in ownership. Not much for either guy. So yeah, which is kind of expected. The bats, you look at the total, it's not a typical Coors total on this one. So we've got, and Colorado's obviously been terrible both at home and on the road. I think the Cincinnati stack, I think you have to play some Cincinnati stacks. It's Coors. They're expensive. But I do like, I like the Cincinnati side of this more, obviously, than Colorado. But I don't think I'm going to be playing this game nearly like a typical Coors Field game where I like to, in most instances, get heavily over on the Coors Field game. We talked about it on Wednesday, the tails being fatter in certain ballparks. That's certainly the case here. Like I said, I think the weather doesn't really help us all that much. But this is not one that I want to go crazy over the market on with the bats. So I do like the Cincinnati bats more than the Colorado bats. I don't think that's saying a lot. And I'm just looking at trying to see where they're projected. They're actually, this is as low a projected ownership as you'll ever see.
That's what I'm saying. The Sabres
so now
got
I'm
the
thinking,
Reds.
Yeah, it's pretty low. So I'm almost thinking you want to be over. I'm just not going to be over. Like, I'm not going to have 40% of my stacks like sometimes I do at Coors. I think, if I go like 20% of my stacks in this game, I think that's going to get you over the market 20 to 25%, and I think that's okay. So I like this suppressed ownership at Coors. I'll always take it. If we got JBC on here, he's like, it's Coors. Let's just hammer it, no matter what the situation is. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But so at those ownerships, I don't mind being like kind of 15%, 20% of, or a little bit even higher of certainly the Cincinnati lineup, and maybe getting in the 10 to 15% range on the Colorado lineup.
Hammering the Coors game, no matter what, it must work enough. Stats works often enough.
He loves to blindly just pump that Coors game. It was great when we were there for the final in Denver. We were the FanDuel final, watching us be the only ones on that game, and them doing absolutely nothing. That was a fun night. That was a good one. And then they scored $1 million like the next night, so that was good.
I had the famous water main break at a FanDuel final many years ago, where the water main broke at Coors Field, and I had the full Rocky stack at a live final, so the game just got canceled.
That's awesome.
It was not.
That is awesome.
It was not. Awesome.
That's as close to. A live final. It doesn't get any worse than that. That's like remember when the roof had a leak in New Orleans during the NBA game? Yeah. That was years ago, and that was
elevator fire in the Mexico game. That was a classic one too. We've been playing DFS too long, or at least I have.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about it.
I do think I don't know. Just talking through it, like Abbott's got to be a decent play at 5% ownership against that Rockies lineup.
I think you do want to mix it in there because they're so bad. So getting 5%, I'm absolutely fine with, totally. And I think I agree with you there. And the upside, because you can get a lot of strikeouts with them, and against this team for sure.
That's, obviously strikeouts really the name of the game when it comes to DFS pitching. Just like we're chasing home runs, strikeouts, a majority of what we're chasing at the pitching spot. So
you just love to get it. You'd love a cheaper price, but
sure,
to justify it.
But yeah, so point per dollar wise, I get why he can't project well, but if you've got double-digit strikeout upside at 5%, you got to be a pretty good play. So I do think Abbott,
agreed.
Yeah, makes some sense. Arizona and Atlanta up next. This one in the desert, Snakes and Braves. Two, at least on by name basis, good pitchers. Zach Gallen going for the D-backs. He had that one awesome outing against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, of all places, 43 DraftKings points in that one. And then the other 4 have been really pretty pedestrian for Zach Gallen. And then Chris Sale. It's been a struggle for him, too. Both these guys sitting at ERAs right around 6. Don't know what to think quite about Sale and Gallen. Do you think they're going to get better than they've been? But I got at least small concerns about both these guys, not just tonight, but just kind of at where they're at as pitchers right now. And I don't think they're full versions of themselves. Really no interest in either of these pitchers. I was looking at, perhaps going to some of these, I assume, very low-owned Braves or Diamondbacks hitters. But what about you, Stats? Kind of a confusing game here, one that I think you could reasonably have different takes on these two pitchers and these two offenses.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love either pitcher, but I do have Sale significantly better. I've got Sale's in my top 10 here, and you do have some, obviously strikeout upside. 9K is what, kind of it's keeping them down here for me. We've got projections on these guys, 10%, 11%, something like that, ownership on Sale.
The betting market still thinks Sale is pretty much an ace, right? It seems like.
Yeah, well, let me give you the I'll give you the props on that game, but the on Sale we've got 5. It's not it's not elite. It's 5.5 juice to the over, with 17.5 strikeouts. I'm sorry, 17.5 outs to the slightly juiced to the over. So it's it's not elite numbers, and I've got him somewhere around like the 5th or 6th best K per inning here on this slate, and he projects out to my 9th best pitcher with the salary included on the slate. So I mean, he'll get into the mix here for me. It's not going to be tremendous. 11% is where he's projected in the market. I think that's probably I'll probably be in that ballpark. And then Zach Gallen is just not going to make it. I think you could leave him out. You do have to. He does have strikeout upside as well, and you're getting the 7,800. If you want to throw a couple of Gallen lineups in there, I'm not going to argue with you, but he's probably not going to get in there, make it into the pool for me. I'm with you though. I like these Atlanta bats. And I mean, I always seem to kind of Friday nights. We always seem to like the Atlanta bats, and they do nothing. But Riley, Ozuna, Olsen. All really, really strong plays. I think you can play some Arizona stacks as well. I really do like the Atlanta side of this game a decent amount. So Atlanta stacks, lighter on the Arizona stacks. We'll go Sale in the mix, and Gallen's just not going to make it for me.
Yeah, I'm not playing Gallen either. I will say, I mean, he showed he still had it in that Yankees start, the 13K game. It's been a command issue for him. I do think it could kind of click into place at any point for Gallen like it did in that start. So, again, another pitcher who I think his upside projection is higher than maybe the market or the medium gives it credit for. But, again, I'm not really on Gallen. More interested in the Atlanta bats. And, yeah, tough matchup for Sale here against a really tough D-backs team. Yeah, Eugenio Suarez, the lefty masher, I could see playing against Sale, but I don't think I'm going too crazy with the D-backs. I'm with you there. Just kind of avoiding both sides of that. Let's get to Tampa Bay and San Diego. This one in Petco in San Diego. Michael King going for the Padres was an ace last year and looks like one again this year. It did have the rough opening start against the Braves, but has bounced back nicely, been pretty damn good the last 4. Gets a Rays team that they got some dangerous bats in there, but I still think a pretty good spot for King. Curious where you rank him up against, two pitchers we haven't talked about, Gilbert and Yamamoto. I think King is at least in that discussion. And then Shane Baz going for the Tampa Bay Rays looked amazing through 3 starts, specifically the 11 strikeout game against Boston. And then followed it up against the Yankees where the velocity was down. He looked lost, tired maybe, not exactly sure, but did not have it against the Yankees in his last start, 3 1/3 innings. It's hard to know what to expect from Shane Baz here, but I do think the upside is there with him. But again, I don't think he quite makes the cut for me if we're talking limited teams. Anyway, stats, Shane Baz, Michael King, Padres, and Rays. What do you see here?
Yeah, both of these pitchers will make the cut for me. Obviously, King, the better end here. I've got him ranked 4th overall tonight. So I've got him behind the Gilbert, Yamamoto, and actually I have Lopez. I think I mentioned it. Lopez was rated a little higher, but I just think he's capped on the upside. So he's almost like my number 3 here, King. So he'll take the spot of Lopez. So I'm going to have a decent amount of King, but Baz is 7th overall on my list. So I think you've got upside there with the strikeouts. Don't mind the price, a little high, but definitely a savings off of some of these top guys. So I think you can go. You can take both pitchers in this game. I really don't like much in the way of the offense. Probably prefer the San Diego side, or definitely prefer the San Diego side, but one-offs. I don't even want to stack it. Kind of a Tatis one-off is about all I really want to do in this game. So yeah, it's pitchers for me. You look at the King strikeout number on his prop, 6.5 juice to the over, 17.5 outs also juice to the over. Baz 5.5 juice to the under with 17.5 outs heavily juiced to the over. So I think it's a pretty good pitching matchup. You could even take both of these pitchers. If you're hand building, maybe you don't want to play them against each other. That's fine. But obviously in my 150, I'll have a decent mix of both of these guys going against each other. So I think I'll actually be over the market on Baz if that 10% is accurate there that Sabres projecting. And I might be over on King as well at that 23%. So maybe get up to 30 and 15 on both of these guys.
Yeah, I like that. You said you had King 3rd. You have him behind Gilbert and Yamamoto?
Correct.
Yeah, me too. But I do think King, really solid play. And, if you need the savings, right, if you need that $1,000 savings to fit in the lineup, I think it's worth it going down to King and not stand stubborn with Gilbert and Yamamoto, who we'll talk about coming up next year. I'm with you. No real interest in the bats in Padres and Rays. But yeah, next game up is in Seattle. It is the aforementioned Logan Gilbert at home here against the Miami team that has, I think, put up more offensive production, more fight than I certainly expected headed into the year. I've called up a couple guys from the minors who have hit. Some of their lefty powers coming through. Wagaman looks pretty good. This Augustine Ramirez, I don't know if you've seen him play yet. Catcher, 2,500. He looks awesome. Power and speed. Obviously, horrible matchup here, but a player to keep an eye on. I still think can play even at that price point, or even in this matchup at that price point. And then Cal Quantrill going for the Marlins here. I think one of the very worst pitchers starting in baseball right now. And I still think he's in play in this matchup against the Mariners. He's 5,200. I mean, this is the Feltner special. This is Casparius got me 13 points the other day at 4K.
I was laughing when I was looking at that. I'm like, yeah, there goes DC again.
He was mowing him down. I almost got there. I had a pretty nice stack with him. I really wanted to win with Casparius. Wasn't quite good enough. But anyway, I mean, this Quantrill is awful. But at 5,200, at no ownership, in this park, in this matchup, he, outside of being a shit pitcher, which he definitely is, everything else he does have going for him. So it doesn't seem like a stats play, but I got to have a little Cal Quantrill in my life. What are you doing with Gilbert, Quantrill? And then, listen, the Mariners stack, I think, is pretty good, too, against Quantrill, who's that bad. And I never play the Mariners in Seattle, but I'm playing both sides of this one. Over to you, Stats.
Yeah, it's scary. I love the Seattle stacks, but, yeah, you got to you got to temper it down a little bit with this ballpark. Same thing, it's the inverse. You've got those ballparks where the tail's fat on the high side. You're not going to get as fat a tail here in Seattle. So we want to kind of, wherever you think the bat should be. And the boom rating loves Seattle here. So the ownership levels are pretty high. I just don't know if you want to be over the market here on any team in Seattle. I don't know if that.
Yeah, they look like one of the highest teams, right? I mean, I've seen 15%. That's pretty high.
Yeah, it's high. And, you can understand it. Like I said, the Boom Report loves them as well. Where are they as far as the on the team totals here? The stacks. I've got Seattle, the fourth bet, so right around 5 runs.
Yeah.
It's not enough for me to go crazy. I think you want to get under, as much as I like the Seattle bats, I don't think you want to get over these numbers that we're projecting here in Sabre. I just think it's too high. As far as Cal Quantrill, I was supporting you with your wacky play on Wednesday. I'm not supporting this. I cannot.
No, you weren't. You told me it was a terrible play.
No, I didn't. I said I don't know. I will have to go back and watch the tie. I definitely did not say it was terrible. I just said I wouldn't be doing it, which I did not. And then I chuckled as you got 13 points. I'm like, you son of a bitch. But we will not get there. How about this? There's no chance in hell you're getting 13 points out of Cal Quantrill today. It ain't happening.
I think you could easily get 13 points out of Cal Quantrill.
It ain't happening. There was nothing better than Cal Quantrill Colorado games. So
yeah, this is the complete opposite park.
This is the opposite. Yeah, the inverse of Colorado. And he's still projected their opponents projected to score 5 runs here in the betting markets. But yeah, I mean, Miami bats have absolutely no interest. Let's go to the other pitcher here is my number one pitcher on the slate here, Gilbert at 10-2. And this is what we were talking about, like trying to me, of the top 2 guys, I've got Yamamoto as the number 2, but I almost think Gilbert is a must play. I'm obviously not playing 100% of my 150, but if I had one pitcher that I think is the play of the day, it's definitely Gilbert. By far the best strikeout projection per inning, with a low walk rate, low earned runs. Just probability of him giving up many runs here in this game should go deep. Let's look at the the prop market and see where they're projecting him. But I believe he's got the highest strikeout total projected, at least on the slate tonight. So I've got for Gilbert, 7.5 juice to the over with 18.5 strikeouts, slightly juice to the under. So I just think he's an elite play tonight. One of the better plays of all the shows that I've done so far this year. I think this is one of the best pitching matchups we're going to see. So it's just not a guy I want to fade tonight, is Gilbert. So I want to either be over the market. If I'm single entry, he's definitely in the mix. Mess around with the second pitcher. I think Gilbert's the nuts here tonight.
I'm with you. Gilbert, number 1 for me. I mean, I think very clearly he's got the safest, highest floor. And then I think he's got the highest ceiling too, right? So that just obviously, if you got highest floor, highest ceiling, there you go. On Logan Gilbert, nothing bad to say about this at all, other than the price is high and the ownership is going to be high too. But that's it. Other than that, Gilbert looks like a slam dunk spot. And we'll move it along. I know there's at least a couple chat lunatics that'll get some Cal Quantrill in there with me. So we'll see. Probably one in yell. Big T's in there. Yeah, Gilbert, highest projection I've had.
When he scores 18, I'm never talking to you again. So
Quantrill or Gilbert?
Quantrill. No, Gilbert better get more than 18. Yeah.
All right. That's Miami, Seattle. The Seattle stack. How you going under there? You said
I'm going under the more. I would love it even more in a different ballpark. So I think it's sharp to just kind of stay under the projections here of like 50%. Get somewhere around 8%, something like that on your 7 or 8% with most of their lineup. Who really got? Listen, Cal Raleigh is one of the better options. He's always going to be one of my favorite options. Julio Rodriguez, Luke Raley, all those guys project really well. And 3,500, not terrible on the price tag there. And then you've got someone was mentioning Tellez. Tellez is a great option. I just don't know what the pinch hit risk is. I know someone was mentioning that in the chat, but at 2,500, I love that play as well.
Yeah, Mastroboni, Tellez, Raley all have some pinch hit risk. Dylan Moore and Rosarena both on the bench to start. Both those guys.
I feel like if we get pinch hit, like something's not going. Like they're not scoring. Like because we got to figure Miami is just not going to score. So if they're worried about pinch hitting these guys, that means night game and probably low scoring, and they're going to suck anyway. So
yeah, I actually think that's a fair point on the pinch hit stuff. And those guys, such a good matchup for those lefties that makes sense with Seattle. Just a matter of, do you want to play into that ownership or not in such a tough park to hit? White Sox and A's are up next. Sean Burke going for the White Sox. He's been really, really bad. Underlying metrics for him look even worse. Kind of dug into him today. And then the White Sox bullpen, awful too. So very high on this A stack. And then Luis Severino going for the A's has actually pitched pretty well this year in mostly tough matchups, and gets anything but a tough matchup here against this White Sox team. So Severino, I like quite a bit at that 8K price tag. No interest in Chicago. Maybe they're going to go with Gilbert to open anyway. Bullpen game, crappy pitcher after crappy pitcher coming out for the White Sox. I guess you could sum it up that way. What are you doing with White Sox and A's here stats?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. I like Severino as well. He's my 5th best option on the slate pitching wise here. So I'll have a decent amount at the 8K number. That's going to help you out a bit. A little salary savings against a really weak White Sox hitting team. With that said, the prices on this Chicago lineup, which probably the lineup's not out yet, right? But what we're projecting as the prices, I think also warrant some play. I think you're going to want to play some White Sox on this slate. So I do like Severino quite a bit. I'm also going to be getting in there on the White Sox. Let me see. I didn't even look at what their projected ownerships, and they're decent. They're actually going to get some ownership. So it's that ballpark as well. Now the Athletics are projected for the highest total here, team total on the board. So definitely like the Athletics quite a bit. Let me look at where I've got. So I mean, I've got all these. I think this game combined has the highest ratings on the Boom report, which makes sense in that ballpark. That ballpark looks like it's going to play really well to the hitters. Yeah, I think you want to get heavy the Athletics bats, and I think you want to be over the market. I think they're looking at Seattle from what we just looked at for a higher projection than the Athletics. I don't know if that's going to wind up panning out. I think the A's get what we're looking at on the Seattle projections as far as ownership, and I think you want to be there as well. So I want to have more A's than I do Seattle. And maybe even in a significant way. And I think you want to mix in some of these, you could get Palacios at 2,200, a couple of options here, Baldwin at 2,500, Vaughn at 2,800. You can mix some of these guys in. Secondary stacks, I like it even more. And see if you're playing some of these more expensive stacks and you need some cost savings. I think the White Sox are the way to look in your non-Severino lineups.
Yeah, several A's coming up super high in the Boom report. Langoliers, Soderstrom are both at or near the top of their positions. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the outfielders too, right? Rooker, I assume, Lawrence Butler's up there. And then,
these are all like guys with like close to 20% chance of a home run probability. So, I mean, that's that park. I love it.
Yeah, and then the report doesn't even love Nick Kurtz, but obviously another guy you can play if you need a little savings from Soderstrom in the first base spot. So both of us very high on the A's. I can't play the White Sox, but I get it, I guess. And then I like Severino a ton. I think he's pretty safe here. They let him throw like 100 plus pitches. I mean, he's got one of the longest leashes in all of baseball. You're going to tell me you get 100 pitches against the White Sox at a decent price, decent ownership? I'll take my shot on Severino. Sounds like you're on board with that one as well. Let's go to LA for a fun matchup here. Really all the way around. You've got Yoshi Yamamoto pitching for the Dodgers, who, man, he has looked fantastic this year, especially in these last two against the Rangers and the Cubs, two pretty good offenses. Absolutely shut them down. Strikeout upside's been there. They haven't, at least so far, been cautious with his pitches, over 100 in each of the last two stats for Yamamoto, whose ERA sits below 1. And he is just mowing people down right now. Hard to know how good he'll be going forward, but clearly has a lot there, does Yamamoto. Gets this Pirates team that, outside of O'Neal Cruz, who by the way, is just absolutely mashing. One of the best one-offs each and every night. It looks like O'Neal Cruz. And I think even tonight, I wouldn't mind taking a shot on O'Neal Cruz. But no other Pirates for me. Assume you are similar. And then Paul Skeens up against the Dodgers. And I was excited to see Mr. Ohtani atop the Boom Report, despite the tough matchup stats, because that's the conclusion I came to too before I looked at the report, that Ohtani has to be an elite play. His upside, like, he's less likely to get there, right? But it remains totally intact, Ohtani's upside, even against Skeens. So I like Ohtani a ton here. It's going to be, I'm seeing no ownership on him. Curious where you came out on that. Obviously, the Boom Report likes him, but yeah, Skeens against the Dodgers should be fantastic. Jake Swales, Skeens getting up for this game, going to mow the Dodgers. It wouldn't shock me to see Skeens, dial it in and really take it to him. But you can see the Dodgers hitting him around too. Honestly, Skeens so far hasn't been anywhere close to unhittable. He's given up some loud contact this year. So your thoughts here, Stats? Really fun game. Yamamoto, Skeens, Pirates, and Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fun game. We've got Yamamoto. I think I mentioned before, my number 2 option, highest price pitcher on the slate. I think like I said before, if you're going to choose between Gilbert and Yamamoto, I think you go Gilbert. But I do love Yamamoto in this spot. Now, Skeens, 11th best pitcher for me on the slate. Now, obviously, we've got tremendous upside with the strikeouts in the prop market, which I've got up here. He was pretty good, 6.5. That is juiced to the under on the strikeouts, with heavy juice, 17.5 pitching outs to the over, while Yamamoto is at 6.5, but you're almost laying minus 200 here to get over that number, and 17.5 also pretty heavily juiced at minus 175 to the over. So obviously this looks like a strong pitching matchup. I think we can get leverage in 2 different ways. I think you can get leverage with Skeens and against Skeens here. I think these Dodgers, I mean, it's just way too low. I know, obviously, we know the talent with Skeens. I agree with you. Maybe I'm not going full game stack, but boy, you give me Ohtani at just a suppressed ownership, I'll take my chances in a one-off. If you want to use a one-off, I love it with Ohtani. Again, I don't know which lineup you're putting him with that you're going to fit in, that you want to fit him in, but it's going to probably, I don't know which stack's going to go with him, but I do think the Dodgers are severely undervalued here today. I
mean, Ohtani's at the very top, has the highest boom rating of any player on the whole slate, and has 2% ownership. I mean, the other people that have a similar boom rating are like the highest owned guys on the slate, right? Other than Ohtani, it seems like.
Yeah, so, he's not the highest. It's not the highest. It's he might be the highest at his position. Judge is the highest by far tonight. So.
Are you worried that
Ohtani ranks 8th overall tonight?
All right. Yeah. I'm in on Ohtani, and I'm doing exactly what you said. I'm just playing him as a one-off. I think he's so clearly the best Dodger. I mean, none of them are going to be on that. I just, you're trying to get that leadoff home run, and then you're obviously off to the races. So I don't feel like I need to play the rest of these guys. I don't think Skeens is going to get blown up, but he'll challenge Ohtani with a fastball, and it doesn't matter that it's Paul Skeens' fastball. If Ohtani squares it up, he's jogging around the bases, and I like his chances here. So I'm going to get in as much Ohtani as I can. Obviously, difficult with the price tag and everything else, but I do think he is an elite play today. San Francisco and the Texas Rangers to wrap up this slate. 2 veteran right-handers, Justin Verlander, Nathan Eovaldi, pitching in San Francisco, going to be pretty cold there, so this will certainly play as a pitcher's park. I think Eovaldi's okay here. I don't think I can get to Verlander. And then the bats here are, I think, pretty uninteresting in this park. What about you, Stats? Where'd you end up with Rangers and Giants?
Yeah, so I like Eovaldi, 6th best pitcher for me on the slate, so definitely in the mix. I'm not tossing out Verlander, though. I think Verlander plays as well at the 7,300 price tag. So with some of these expensive bats tonight, I've got to play some of the cheaper pitchers without going down to Cal Quantrill. I'm going to have to play some of these other guys, and Verlander's going to.
You take the Hall of Famer, and I'll take Cal Quantrill.
What is the lifetime ERA of Cal Quantrill? I can only imagine. You can look that up while I'm.
It's gotta be near 6.
It's really got to be. But yeah, no, Verlander definitely makes the mix at the 7,300 price tag. The K, his K numbers are going to be not great, mid pack here. Eovaldi, not terrible, got him 0.86 K per inning, but really good on the walks. Not going to let a lot of guys on base cheaply. Verlander, kind of the same boat, so we could see a pretty good pitching matchup here. In that one. So I'll have both pitchers in that matchup and in a pretty decent ballpark as well to pitch in. I didn't look at what the weather is as far as tonight there, but it's usually pretty strong for the pitchers. And we've got a couple options though, bats wise on the Boom Report. A couple of guys they're elite play, barely elite though, with Langford, Garcia, topping that list on the Texas side, and Adames with San Francisco. Those are your 3 best options. But Berger at 2,700, I don't mind, or Jock Peterson 2,500 if you want to kind of sneak in some salary. But I don't really, I wouldn't get too heavy on this game. Never liked that ballpark, and I'm not gonna go too crazy. Let's see what the projections as far as ownership. I know the Verlander 9.8. They've got him at like 10%. I think that's about where I'd want to be. I think 10% of my lineups with Verlander. Eovaldi, I think, is a little low, so I'm going to get above there. They've got him down at like 3%. I think the 10 to 15% number is going to be good for me on Eovaldi. And then as far as the bats here, 5 to 7% across the board for the top end, mostly the Texas bats. I think that's about right. I don't really care much for the San Francisco bats, so I think I might pass there.
Yeah, and the under's cash because Cal Quantrill's career ERA 4.17. Man,
that's not terrible.
No, had a year in Cleveland, 2021, 150 innings of an ERA below 3. Did Mr. Quantrill? So
wow.
Yeah,
where did he finish in Cy Young that year?
I don't know, but you must have taken some of my money that year because I was probably. So he's going to get it back from me by shutting down this Mariners team. No,
he's going to. Yeah, you'll win a nice like $50K tonight with Cal Quantrill.
All right, that is all 10 games now that we have on the slate. Let's go back through it quickly. Stats. I think we both have Gilbert, right, as the kind of the clear SP1, and he will be the highest owned, it looks like, but in my opinion, not egregiously so. Where I still the first guy in my lineup, Logan Gilbert. What about you with pitcher?
Yeah, I mean, I think Gilbert's going to be the most important pitcher on the slate for me. He'll be my highest owned pitcher for sure. I think this is a really, really strong matchup there. So if you want to get a little heavier than you normally do with your top pitching option, I think that's okay with Gilbert.
Yeah. And then Gilbert Yamamoto, I think, is an awesome pairing. And then for me, Gilbert and Severino, the one that I think I'm going to roll on my main team. I think you like all. Yeah, I think you like all 3 of those guys. Who else are you looking at pitcher? Yeah,
I might be putting. Yeah, my core might be Gilbert, Severino as well, which I'm going to do right after this. So I might be right there with you. So I can't really argue with you on that one.
Cool. Yeah, and obviously, cores, Boom Report, articles, playbook, everything you need over at Run Pure Sports. You can use promo code RPS15 to get you 15% off first weekly or monthly payment. Awesome time with the NBA playoffs, MLB, everything else going on in the world of sports over at RPS. We'll just do the one home run call today. Stats. Who you got? Who's going yard for us?
I think it's unfair to pick Judge because I think he's just so far out above everyone. So I'm not going. Judge will just hit a home run, so I'm not going to use that one. But I'm gonna go with Brent Rooker. I like that one. I like picking on that ballpark and Rooker against the White Sox. I like that matchup.
And I'll go with my most important player today. It's going to be Mr. Ohtani. I'm going to fit him on as many lineups as I can. Little Ohtani late night hammer against Paul Skeens. And we'll see how it works. Everybody go and Judge. Maybe Ohtani can surpass him. That'll do it, though, for this show. Appreciate everybody watching. We'll be back on Sunday morning. No show on Saturdays. But, yeah, we'll see you then for Stats. I'm DC. We're out of here.